How y'all doing out there? Remember, we want you to be an activist. And don't take my word for it. Look that shit up, please. But, the thing is about the trial, one of the reasons why I want to touch on that one is because I feel like this is America on trial. This is our way of life, our way of living, like what we accept. You know what I mean? I'll explain more later, but it's like, we have the child beauty pageants, they had that movie with the little girls who were dancing on Netflix, and everybody was all mad about that stuff. And, and I completely understand. It's just that it's selective. It's like we choose what to be outraged about. Like, it's like someone is telling us there's a trigger where someone is telling us what to be outraged about, and we have all this stuff going on in entertainment that's related to child sex trafficking that goes on, right? It's not like covert. It's like really right in front of your face. But you're like, meh, because, it's like no one's telling you to be outraged about that, even though you look at it and it catches your eye too. And you'd be like, that's kind of weird, but nobody says anything. So whatever, So that's the reason why I wanted to talk about that trial. I want to talk about let's go ahead and go into that. The South African thing, where the Omicron variant was discovered. I just want to clear some of this stuff up, man. Like, first off, South Africa is really good at detecting diseases and shit like that, because they've dealt with Ebola and a bunch of fucking really fucking nasty, scary fucking shit. So they have infrastructure for detecting, infectious diseases. They have a really good infrastructure related to that. So that's the reason why they were able to come across this Omicron variant, because they are testing for shit all the time. So, but they're making it look like the media and a lot of you guys out there who don't really understand what's happening is like they're making it look like that this variant it came from Africa or whatever. It came from South Africa and it was brewed there. So, but there is an argument related to the vaccines, we're the human community, right? So if we want to make sure that we don't get sick, I've been screaming this since the beginning. I'm tired of saying it, but if you are concerned about yourself not getting sick, then you should be concerned about your neighbor not getting sick. If your neighbor has health care and healthcare coverage and be able to go to the doctor, then there's a better chance that he won't get sick. If there's a better chance that your neighbor won't get sick, there's a better chance that you don't get sick. And we have neighbors all around the world, literally. The Omicron variant don't give a damn about the borders that you guys have made up. Nobody, the disease don't give a damn about this national pride shit. Okay, the air, it's the airplanes, the ships, the mosquitoes themselves, the birds, the migratory birds. Come on, you guys, they don't care about these borders. So those are carriers of these diseases all the time. And it's like, okay, like I say, the reason why South Africa came out with it so fast is because they have the infrastructure to detect this stuff, and they're trying to be good. They're trying to help everyone out. As a human, I'm gonna play something on the screen in a moment. I'm about to play this video, but the Omicron variant, they discovered that shit in South Africa. It was already everywhere. Okay, and there is an argument for making sure that other people have vaccines or whatever, just healthcare, period, so that we can all be healthy. But I'm going to play a bit of this video.
Kim, what's on your radar?
Well, South Africa is being treated like the pariah of the world after we all woke up the day after Thanksgiving to the globe coming to a halt over the newly discovered COVID variant Omicron. Suddenly, the stock market was falling, countries were closing down their borders, and travel bans were being placed on southern African countries. South Africa took offense to the travel bans, calling them knee-jerk, insisting there was no real evidence the variant came from an African country. Instead, they felt they were being punished for discovering it. On top of this, doctors treating Omicron patients in South Africa were saying the variant presents with such mild symptoms that the hype makes no sense at all.
And these symptoms not the same. It's very mild. And up until today, the patients that we've seen are mild patients, mild symptoms. And the ones that I have seen from the 18th up until now, all of them recovered. None has been admitted. No oxygen necessary so far, and also no indication of any oxygen.
Okay, so
in response to the new variant, people are once again blaming the unvaccinated and the undervaccinated. Fingers are being pointed at South Africa, a country with only about 25% fully vaccinated, and they're pointing at the entire continent of Africa as a whole, which is just over 10%. Having had only one dose of the vaccine as being the cause for the variant. The idea is if the virus is allowed to spread unabated, variants will form. Okay, but what gives people the idea Africa is experiencing high levels of spread? People assume because Africa has extremely low vaccination rates that the virus must be running rampant on the continent. But look at this map. Africa has extremely low levels of spread. Even South Africa, which has more than most of the continent, is still seeing much lower rates than places like the United States, Europe, and Russia. And if you don't believe the case rates, look at the death rates. Africa, for whatever reason, simply hasn't been hit that hard with the virus. Maybe it's the weather, maybe it's background immunity, maybe they don't have enough global visitors, maybe they just haven't been hit hard yet. Whatever it is, it's clear they're not a hotspot for spread. That would obviously be Europe, Russia, and the United States by looking at the maps. Yet the narrative that's currently circulating is the reason we ended up with Omicron is because of poor vaccination rollout in Africa. Some are blaming the pharmaceutical companies for not releasing their patents, claiming big pharma greed is what has kept the world from gaining access to the valuable vaccines. But that's not entirely true. A lot of people in Africa just don't want the vaccine. In fact, 2 days before Omicron mayhem hit the news, Reuters reported that South Africa had asked Johnson & Johnson and Pfizer to stop sending in their vaccines because people were just not interested in taking them. They said there was too much hesitancy in the adult population and they had an overabundance of the shots and would offer the rest to 12 to 17-year-olds. 2 days later, a strange new variant was announced, labeled by the WHO as a variant of concern, and travel bans on southern Africa were enacted. Now, what's odd is health experts have admitted they know next to nothing about this new variant. They don't know yet if it's more contagious. They don't know if it causes the same or worse or even lesser symptoms than Delta. They don't even know how widespread it is. Yet they gave it a label, variant of concern, that they haven't even given to previous variants which have wreaked havoc in parts of the world. For example, the Lambda variant, which ravaged through Peru, causing Peru to have the highest rate of deaths in the world, a variant that swept through South America, a variant that is in the United States. And in fact, Florida's Jackson Memorial Hospital says accounted for 3% of their hospitalizations this summer, is still labeled as a variant of interest, one step lower than a variant of concern. Perhaps the collective freakout was over the fact travelers were appearing all over the world infected with the variant. People in the UK, Hong Kong, Israel, Netherlands, Australia, Germany, Denmark, Canada, and more were testing positive with Omicron. What's more is, we know that in order for people to travel internationally, they most likely need to have been vaccinated. Botswana announced the initial people infected with Omicron in their country were 4 fully vaccinated foreign diplomats. They had visited the African country and had left in early November. Germany requires travelers entering the country to be fully vaccinated. So does Israel, so does Hong Kong, so does Australia, so does Canada, so does much of the world. It's very difficult right now to travel internationally if you're not fully vaccinated, unless you're a young child. 2 flights that were midair from Johannesburg to Amsterdam when the news broke about the variant were forced to divert their passengers to health officials where they waited for hours to undergo testing. 600 passengers were tested, and it turned out 10% of the plane came back positive with COVID. 61 passengers in total. Of the 61 who tested positive, only 13 had the new Omicron variant. The rest had Delta or possibly older variants, which makes us wonder how long this has been going on. Fully vaccinated people are not being regularly tested coming off a plane, so who knows? It was only an 11-hour flight. Health experts say it's not likely they caught the virus midair, then tested positive upon landing. 10% must have boarded the plane infected. Now, unvaccinated travelers headed to the Netherlands must test negative within 48 hours of boarding. Fully vaccinated passengers can board without being tested. This should perhaps call into question the idea that vaccinated passengers do not need to undergo testing prior to boarding.
Okay, so that should clear up a lot of shit. That should clear up a lot of shit for y'all, because the media is all over the place. The link should be there.
Dime qué tú quieres, papi.